Have you ever thought about how music makes you feel emotion? Sure, you might say a happy chord plus a fast tempo equals happy song, or sad chord plus slow tempo equals sad song. But what makes a happy chord happy? And how do we know? You might have heard before that music is a universal language, a world within itself and a language that we all understand. At least that's what Stevie Wonder said in Sir Duke, and while usually I wouldn't be one to disagree with Stevie Wonder, I will say that line may be a bit inaccurate. That's because while every single culture on Earth creates music, every culture's music is incredibly different, and the emotions and, the way the music makes us feel, well, that can depend on your culture, your language, and maybe even the way your brain has been trained since birth. But we'll get back to that later. Music all over the globe is completely different and changes to adapt to language and tradition of the culture. Taking a look at lyrics and different styles of music from around the globe, it's clear that in most cultures, music works alongside the lyrics to create depth and meaning. For example, in Hindustani music, meaning is woven into the music through the tradition of their cultural poetry. Lyrics in this genre are repeated and varied to create new musical interpretations, allowing for a deeper understanding and nuanced emotional expression. The lyrics in songs of this style are often based on romantic poetry or similar themes. Western music has evolved in much of the same way. Lyrics are almost always based on the structure of poetry. But take away the lyrics for a second. How can one tell if music is happy or sad? And is it really part of our DNA? Okay, it's not some big conspiracy or mystery like the Vsauce music made it seem, but the real answer is that we just don't know. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like nobody has studied it. Trust me, a lot of people have studied it. But the results are kind of, inconclusive. For right now, I want to focus on the study done in 2001, where researchers were testing the ability of children and how music would make them feel. And what's interesting is that they found that different aged children had different reactions to the music. For example, children aged 6 to 8 would be able to tell if music is happy or sad based on how fast or slow the piece is and if the piece was minor or major. While 5-year-olds can only tell by how fast it is, and 3 to 4-year-olds can't really tell at all. And I was curious about this, so I tested it on my girlfriend's younger siblings, aged 3 and 6, and my results were kind of the same thing. The 6-year-old would tell me if it's happy or sad based on the chord structure, the tempo, and sometimes even the lyrics, which I found super surprising. While the 3-year-old just told me if it was happy or sad based on whether she liked it or not. Okay, so I'm in bed editing right now, and I realized there's a whole segment I forgot to record, so that's what this is. I want to answer the question without really getting off topic, but it's so hard because there's so many different sources. Like, one research paper will say this, and then another one will come along and be like, actually, here's what we found, so it's really complicated and it's a really nuanced subject, and I encourage you to go actually research it more if you want to. But what I can conclude is that it's not necessarily ingrained, and probably disappointing. But there's an article from the BBC where this professor, Catherine Loveday, talks about how the natural speech might mirror the happy sad notes of the minor and the major scale. And she didn't provide a source for that, but if that's true, and in English speech, when we're happy we use notes from a major scale, and when we're sad we use notes from a minor scale, that pretty much outright proves that this is a biological instinct. but I don't really see how that could be true. Another thing that I think is interesting is that there was a study done where basically what this is saying is that there are multiple communities, right? And each community had like less and less exposure to Western music. And the only one that didn't really agree with that minor, major, happy, sad thing was the one that was like least exposed to any Western music. So I think that kind of disproves the biological instinct thing, at least from, a casual perspective. There might be something to it, but I think honestly we just don't have enough research. But yeah, anyways, back to me from the past. The language you speak might have more impact on the way you interpret music than you might think. For example, in 2011, researchers proved that speakers of tonal languages such as Mandarin or Thai were way better at distinguishing small pitch variants. That means that someone that's not musically trained but speaks a tonal language might be better at distinguishing pitch than a Westerner with musical training. Now, that's not to say that people with congenital amusia or tone deafness can't learn tonal languages. It's actually super interesting how people with tone deafness adapt to be able to distinguish pitch in tonal languages. In the same study, they found that tone deaf people were unable to differentiate the pitches above chants. However, they were able to replicate tones of natural speech in those languages with relative ease. This is because
the language is processed through the speech part of the brain, not the music part. Native speakers especially have been trained since birth, so it's not something they have to think about.
So I think the best way I can describe the relationship between these three is a sort of like feedback loop where, culture and language will kind of develop at the same time, and music just serves to not only reinforce both of those concepts, but also to express the experience of the person that made it. So regardless of whether or not music is universal, there's still something to be said about how making music seems to be ingrained in us as a species. It's kind of weird how subjective it is. Like, not everyone will experience in the same way, and yet it's something that almost everyone on Earth can enjoy. I think it's really cool how music can be experienced in so many different ways, and how, it's such a specific way of communication, and it's branched out into so many genres and so many different ideas, and yet it's still the same foundation. It's not just something that we use to express ourselves, but it's something that lets us get closer to understanding the world around us. And I think that's beautiful.